Good morning, sirs and zers. It is I, Krown, and welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave for a very early Sunday. It's absolutely dark as fuck right now, too, which is actually quite nice because it's allowing me to sleep much more in. Anyways, hope you're doing well on this nice little Sunday. And as always, I would like to wish you the best, and the haps before we get into this one. I feel like I might have missed that a couple days ago, and more importantly, need to make up with it. So, what does that mean for today? Well, I do want to follow up on yesterday's short-term analysis, as there wasn't really all that much to be spoken about there. All the focus was really on the weekly and monthly and bi-monthly closures coming up in just, well, today and tomorrow, actually. So that's, again, going to be a big focus today, but we'll also look at the low-term timeframes just to see if there's anything, something, interesting going on right there. But speaking of interest, put the interest on the open interest over here on the Krown trading application, and we do see that it's still more or less steady there. I do still look at that $2.5 billion marker for open interest kind of be demonstrative of a change of behavior alongside a break of the long-term timeframe range. That would still be the same range that we've been looking at for the last about month now, actually, between about 11,000 and 12,000 and some odd change, and still we haven't really seen any major move outside of that region as of yet. Bitcoin dominance heading down more than 0.5% actually from yesterday to today. I believe yesterday was around 59% when we last spoke, and now coming down quite hard today does suggest that we are indeed seeing rotation. So this does again line up with the overall crypto market looking a little more healthy, and likely in this whole sort of phase that we're looking at right here is very unlikely to be reversal in my opinion, and more likely to be continuation overall. At least that would suggest if it's overall constructive. Of course, more things matter than that. We need to look at actual price action charts. That does come first, but I suppose it is worth mentioning. And the fear and greed index also very, very interesting reads here as well, coming down 4 points from a 79 to a 75. Other than that, I think it's time to actually get into the actual price action charts right here. And what do we want to start on? Well, I guess we can start on let's go back to the chart that we were looking at yesterday. Yeah, GDAX chart. We can start right here, and I did say that based on it being a weekend, it did look like it wanted to go up. However, because it is a weekend, I do not trade something like that, and even I wouldn't have been really surprised if things came back down and tested around the medium-term time frame zone to 11,300ish region. But as you can see right here, Bitcoin did work its way through the blue box territory and then initiated that next move up around 11,700. Although we didn't quite get there just yet, it does look like Bitcoin will give it a legitimate try there sometime. Maybe even today, but probably early this week. And then overall, I'll be looking at the same relationship between this range right here, as we saw with this range right here, front of the move to the upside, very likely reaching all the way up to the long-term topside zone, which I have between about 10.9 and just under 12,000. And I still would be looking at that as a major area to be closed upon for either a 12-hour or daily. Nothing really less than that. Although if you do want to use a lower term time frame, I'll just use higher prices like 1250. But perhaps a discussion for later. But for right now, that's what I'd be looking for to denote a major break of the topside range and essentially confirm a continuation drive for the upside, initiating targets towards 12.3 very likely quickly, and then after that, I'd be looking for moves all the way up to, probably into the $13,000 region. However, for right now, obviously that's well and far away. I need to be very, very muted in my response here as to hopefully not be misheard. That again, still, as long as Bitcoin's within this range between 11,000 and 12,000. I still look at this as more or less constructive, but as a trader, I look at this as just range to range. And in this case right here, we just broke the 11,500-ish range. I would essentially be looking for a test, as we said the other day, up to about 11,700. And this week is actually going to be lining up for a pretty damn strong weekly closure, or I wouldn't say necessarily a strong weekly closure, but more importantly, it doesn't break the sort of interpretation that we've been looking at this right around here. So we said yesterday and coming into the end of last week as well that the most critical thing is not necessarily where we close like a fucking 4-hour dildo right now or daily or anything like that. It's more or less the weekly. And as long as the weekly closes above 11,500, I still look at this as overall a macro change of behavior, actually. Bitcoin continues to maintain the blue box territory. This is the same blue box territory that Bitcoin's been getting rejected from ever since January 2018. That's almost 3 years now to date. And that is a major deal. The reason why is because anytime that you see price action like this, and this is very, very important here. Anytime that you see price action like this, where you see absolutely massively catastrophic moves being spun upon a major region, which you can see right here early on in January, initiating about a 50% move down almost immediately over the next couple of weeks. Then again, a month later, getting another like almost 50% move to the downside quite abruptly, and then realistically gets continuation for another 30 or so percent, and then again about a year later over here, again something around 54, 55%. And then more recently, Bitcoin gets above it, or sorry, it actually does the same thing right there as well. But that's neither here nor there. That's very indicative of what's going on as we are seeing institutional order flow dynamics at play. What does that mean? Well, this is something that's covered in the TA program. So if you are in that program, definitely reference the understand underlying market dynamics videos. But if you're not, well, to kind of put it in brief words, it's basically when you see price action like this where it kind of melts away from an area long term over time, it's indicative that big boys are getting their fills within this region, the market operators essentially. And that also would suggest that when you do see price action breach a level like that, then we naturally have a macro change behavior. And in this case right here, that would suggest that as long as Bitcoin maintains that level, 11,500, especially on a weekly closure, then, well, things look more or less good. And while I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable saying, well, I'd be looking for a drive up to like 13,000 today, or even tomorrow, maybe even this week. Overall, this still maintains its air of constructiveness, and we see a lot of things here that are very similar to what we've seen in the past, kind of denoting these long-term uptrends. But again, I think it's actually a little bit of a better idea to focus more so right now on the lower-term timeframes, as to not get a little bit too confusing. Also for myself, mostly because there's a divorced relationship between the low-term timeframes and the high-term timeframes, in the sense that, oh, okay, looks like it's time to break everything in this place, apparently. But overall, my point is that right now, could I be potentially bearish on the low-term timeframes and bullish on the high-term timeframes? Actually, well, no. I mean, we did just by definition take out this level right here. For myself, I sincerely do not feel comfortable trading on the I tried sincerely very hard to not trade on the weekends. Not that I don't feel comfortable there, it's just I just don't like it. I feel like my edge as a technical analyst is diminished during that time, so I choose not to trade unless it reaches up to a high term time frame area. In this case, that would either be 11,000 down here or 12,000 right here. I trade on the periphery, but not necessarily right smack dab in the middle of the range. Anyways, getting way off track here. As far as the low term time frames go, actually, I would be bullish on these on these time frames as well. As long as we're closing 4-hour dildos above, we could even take the top side of this small pivot at 11,550. I'd be looking for this one to float upwards and onwards. Momentum oscillators should be pointing to the north here as well. And let's see what's going to be needed to maintain the upwards posturing. Yes, indeed. And we can actually take this one step further now. So look at where the 4-hour momentum does start to turn on back to the downside. It would be with a 4-hour closure right below 11,578. Why is that level important? Well, that's quite literally exactly where the 200 simple moving average is on this time frame, which typically does get respected for something like this as well. I know a lot of people have been calling out a death cross on the 4-hour simple moving averages. Understand that there's a reason why I've been talking about that, because I get the same fucking message like 50 goddamn times a day about this. Sorry, I don't mean to make hyperbole of it, but I'll quickly show you what people are talking about, because I suppose it'll bring everyone else up to speed. And I'll tell you why I haven't been talking about it at all. But yes, Bitcoin did get a death cross on simple moving averages on the 4-hour. Do I give a fuck about that? Absolutely zero fucks given. And the reason why is because as long as as long as one of these moving averages has a positive slope, I don't care. I don't care about a cross in that direction. It's just less likely to get played. And as you can see right here, the longer that Bitcoin maintains above the 200 simple, naturally the 50 will cross back up to the upside right there, and that'll actually set in a base and very likely initiate a move all the way up to the top side of the long-term range at about $12,000. So the reason also why I don't necessarily like to talk about that is because simple moving average crosses, while they do get played here and there, it's the exponential moving average crosses that I am a lot more comfortable with and have a lot more experience with. And as you can see right here, the 55, which is represented by the green, and the 200 represented by the purple, are nowhere near each other, and these are a lot more responsive to recent price action. So in a consolidation that's tightening up like this on the lower term timeframes, what do you think is going to get it better? Something that's more reactive or something that's less responsive? Well, the exponentials will. And as you can see right here, they're both flat. They both have flat slopes, and actually Bitcoin price action is above both of them right now with that closure above the 200 simple. So all time frames, or not all time frames, but the 4-hour in the way that I look at it right here, more likely to test the upside than the downside, and using the 200 simple now as a pivot. So not only could I move up that that level of failure to from 11,550 to 11,000, you could say 11,580. That'll naturally expand on the next closure coming in when 3 hours and 24 minutes and 17 seconds, and that'll probably be around 11,600 by the time that happens. If I just had to guess here, so you could probably just move that base up to 11,600, and I'd essentially be saying I'd be short-term bullish as well, as long as Bitcoin maintains above there, maintaining also 4-hour momentum as we showed, and also maintaining above all these major moving averages, which will naturally pull in the or undo, I suppose, the simple moving average death cross. Not that we really cared about it to begin with, but the exponentials will start to get a positive slope once again, as well, naturally speaking, whenever price action is above there, it will just be a matter of time, right? Just simple moving averages. Well, bad pun to be using there. Exponential moving averages in a simple way. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And then also just in a little bit more of a critical sense, anytime that you do see a cross like that, like a golden cross, or I guess I got to pull it up here again. Fuck, man. All right, well, let's do it like this. I suppose it's worth it, man. Anytime you see something like this, where the asset, gets the golden cross or death cross for that matter, and then spends a long time away from it after having a massive rally or dump, whichever one's relevant. Typically the first cross that comes after that is actually going to be a fake out, or at the very least, that's not the one that gets the actual momentum drive. It just tells you that things are waning. In this case, could things be waning? Yes, it could be. I'd still be very open to being bearish here, but I maintain the same levels that I've been saying for a while now, and we could move the short-term range up to I would say about 11,600 within the next 4 hours, and then the medium-term range would still be 11,300 to the downside, and the long-term range 11,000 right here. If you want to get super exact, 10,950. Below there, I'd be looking for moves towards actually very likely below 10,000 once again, with a bounce along the way at 10,500. So can that happen still? Yeah, absolutely. It's possible. It's just if I'm looking at this right here, things are more so indicative of upside continuation rather than anything else. We spoke about this yesterday as well, and this is also why I was very hesitant to get bearish into this next trading week. I really like the way that CME's closed over here. Hold on, let me get where's my beautiful moving averages? There you are. Hello, beautiful moving averages. Please show your face once again. There we go. Get that disgusting simple out of my face. And in the CME chart was showing something that spot price action was not showing actually on Friday's closure, and that was confirming this as a local low. And if this is going to be confirmed as a local low, then that means that we do have hidden bullish divergence here as well, and that very likely does beget a move back up to the top side of the long-term range, actually at $12,000. So I still do think that likely happens this week. Granted, the weekend I usually look at it as like a wild card. In fact, yesterday I believe I said I wouldn't be surprised if things come back down to 11,300, and I still probably wouldn't be, if it did. To be fair, just full honesty, the weekends are one of those times where the operators, get a greater leash to play with, so to speak, as typically there's less people trading. So if they want to go wash people out of their positions, a lot easier to do over the weekend. Usually don't see a break of a major range though. Anyways, looking at this right here, do we see the same sort of thing on Bitcoin spot? Actually, no, because this would be, you could kind of mark that off as your last higher low, so that wouldn't necessarily work. But on CMEs, it was present, and that was driving that, and that's what was driving that bias. And I believe it's also, actually, it's not really even on the 3-day, because the 3-day is more or less just flat here. It's just flat as a fucking line. And 3-day RSI will actually maintain into the bullish control zone with any sort of a closure above 11,640, or sorry, I guess an open, because do we have a new one here? No, shit. Okay, so I guess on Tuesday we'll actually have clarity in that situation, but anything basically here or higher, and that would suggest that we will test the top side of the range again. On CMEs, it's going to be about 12,100-ish region. Yeah, 12,100 it looks like. So overall, things are set up rather nice here. Just need to see fall through. I still kind of maintain what I say on the weekends, though. I very much like to avoid something like this. If Bitcoin does break back down below 11,600, well, I wouldn't necessarily say 11,600. You could probably say I'd probably go with technically speaking for now it'd still be this area right here, but in about in about 3.5 hours, I'd essentially move that up to about 11,600. And if it did break that to the downside, I probably would look for another move, maybe back down to 11.3. I don't feel all that strongly about that. I'm sorry, I'm talking about this area right here. Why does everything look all fucked up on my charts? Yeah, I'm talking about this area right here, down into this box. And actually, I'll flip this one around. Actually, I'll move this one up for now, and I'll get rid of this one just because the chart's getting a little bit too convoluted here. So I want to make them a little bit easier to read for myself and perhaps even you. But yeah, if Bitcoin does break this level, does it essentially imply supply that we're going to test down here. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I just have a strong opinion on if this area breaks right here, 11,300, I would be looking for extension, another $400 into the very high $10,950 region right here. That area is a very important area though for the long term, as we just spoke about. So yeah, again, still a little bit choppy around this region, but if I did have to call it right now, it looks like things want to test the upside. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we were during the regular trading week while CMEs are open, but fair enough is fair enough, and this asset does trade 24/7, so this is why I choose typically not to trade on the weekends. I just don't want the extra risk if I don't need to take it. Doesn't mean that it can't work out, and I'm sure like a shit ton of people are making a shit ton of money trading on the weekends. Just more power to you. It's that's just my general disposition here. Okay, so let's go see how the very low term timeframes are looking like, and if there's any sort of obvious things formulating themselves. We do see that 3-hour Stokes are going to remain in their upside momentum as long as we essentially close above the same area as the 4-hour area that we denoted, 11,586.1 to be fair right there. On a bi-hourly, it would show 11,568. And on an hourly, it would show 11,540 actually. So it's building on the lower term timeframes up. So it would say that if you are looking for this to go upwards and onwards, you're actually looking for this to have more so continuation throughout today. But still, looking at the hourly right here would not it would not really set too much off to even come back down and test around 11,500ish region. That is actually where the hourly 200 simple is. But now I'm breaking my own rule where I'm looking at very low term timeframes on the weekend, and like I said, can you make it work? Yes. Do I would I rather make things more difficult than they need to be? Probably not. Probably not. But then again, more power to you again if you're making shit tons of money. Looking at 4-hour jewels or anything lining up here, not really. Maybe a continuation halt your long signal right here could be in the works, but it would still be a day or two away. I'm curious if sorry, I actually want to follow up on this one right here. So a lot of people took this one I saw in the Jewel Discord, and credit to you. Pretty damn good signal, not super perfect, but pretty fucking good. Would have liked to have seen it down here, but overall a decent lineup in that. Let's just see exactly where that got you. I just want to see for my own knowledge. Okay, so soft signal here for the aggressive people, 27th, and hard signal right here, end of day 27th. Okay, so 27th was right here. So yeah, the soft buy I told you to buy right here. The more aggressive, or sorry, the more conservative one told you to buy right around 11,350 or 11,400ish region. So could that still be in the works? Yes, it could still be very much. I'd expect to see some similar on CMEs, and we do actually. A decent hot or long signal spun off here on actually a day later, the 28th, it looks like. So that would be right around here as it broke through 11,500. So I'd actually be looking for that to get some play. But again, CMEs need to be open for trading for them to actually move in that, or play out a signal like that. Do we have any sort of hidden bearish divergence? We do have potential hidden bearish divergence, so that we're working on right here. So this actually is pretty damn critical around the time that CMEs do open. Needs to maintain this as a continuation drive. If this turns into a local high while we're below about 11,650, then yes, we actually will put in hidden bearish divergence. And at that point, I would feel very comfortable talking about another move back down to about 11,300ish region, maybe even a wick down to the bottom side of the long-term range at 11,000. But for right now, is it still in progress? Yes, it's still in progress. And momentum oscillators favor the upside here too. Looking at the 4-hour Stokes, rejecting the bearish control zone and up. Looking at 4-hour Jewel, we already looked at that. And well, RSI, we spoke about the potential issues there. But as long as it's continuation right now, and momentum will stay to the upside as long as it's closing above about 11,500, then it'll naturally take out that high. And then we could talk about moves back up towards actually 12,000. So, a lot of things lining up here. But as always, I want to put the major focus on the higher term timeframes. We got the weekly close in today for Bitcoin spot. We kind of already looked at that. As long as it maintains above 11,500, I look at that as overall good. I'm curious how momentum oscillators will be situated during that point. Oh, this is a very important one right here. So if we do close above 11,450, Bitcoin will maintain in the bullish control zone for weekly RSI. This is the same read that we've seen, throughout Bitcoin's history, throughout the whole history actually. essentially, kind of denoting any time that we've seen a major long-term uptrend. The last time that Bitcoin, or it's just as simple as this for the weekly RSI, although it's better to be coupled up with a few other things, which we can go over as well. But anytime that the weekly RSI gets into the bullish control zone, like you see right here, this was more recently in late July, by the way. Well, I'll just show you the results of the past. This was the last time in the year 2019, April 29th, actually, to be exact. That was coming out of this base right here, actually, in case you happen to give a fuck, which was literally right here, getting ready for this move all the way from about 5,000 all the way up to 14,000. Remember this area right here? Everyone was super bearish too, and we were saying no, this is a lot more likely to be continuation. I mean, we got bullish above 4,000, not at the actual low, which, well, fair enough, but still, this is continuation right here. And then we can go back through the annals of history right here. Anytime that Bitcoin's gotten the weekly RSI into the bullish control zone, well, again, we'll measure it out. So I'm going to mark off all these zones and then we'll just measure them. So just keep an eye on this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. I know it's a little bit difficult to see when I put it back into that view, but we can see still, okay, so this signal right here, boom, 78% move. This signal right here, boom, 74.5% move. This signal right here, boom, 68.5% move. Damn, that's a nice one. This signal right here, 50% move. This signal right there, 144% move. So they're getting more aggressive as time goes on. It looks like is the overall trend. This one right here, calling the low once again to the next high, 153.75% move. This one right here, up to the next high, almost 100% move. This one right here, that was all the way from like what 6,000 to 20,000, 240% move. And this goes actually all the way back over here to 2012 and 2013 as well. Getting both this signal right here, right on the actual breakout, and then again this signal over here, this one right here. Yeah, very nice. Almost okay. I shouldn't even say that. I'm not saying that Bitcoin's gonna have a similar move to that, but it it is of interest right here because it's not just that. It's not just a weekly RSI. It's also a weekly jewel giving you a hot or long signal right here. This was, well, it looks like it was recent. It's not so recent actually. This was late July, by the way, so a little bit more than a month ago, but still getting lift off that, and the curvature is good. Weekly Stokes, same thing as well. As long as we're above the critical zone, it's hard to hate, and the weekly momentum will remain to the upside as long as we close this next weekly above 11,750. That actually likely is a critical area for today, denoting, well, more continuation of the upside coming in this week. I would feel very comfortable saying very likely any sort of a weekly closure above 11,750, and we probably do see Bitcoin rise like a cobra. We probably see Bitcoin continue on into September if that were to happen. Bitcoin will rise like the cobra. Shorters beware, the cobras are coming for you. Oh my god, man. Okay, stupid. All right. Okay, so let's also look at this as well. Bitcoin also does seem to have a history of putting in these long-term ascending triangles on its long-term pivot points. Very similar areas coming in back from here, very similar area coming in back from here, breaks upon a major long-term area. We're currently grinding up alongside a major long-term area, and if Bitcoin does, pull through, I would very much be looking for something of similar significance to this area right here. Not necessarily a 1-to-1 percentage move, but let's just play around with numbers and let's just say, like, what if the past was anything to go off of? Not that it is, not that past results are indicative of future results or whatever the fuck. But just on the low end, we were seeing around like 40 to 50% moves given those signals. What if, and on the high end, we were seeing like 1,000%, but let's just say maybe 100. What would it look like to go 50% or 40% up from here even, or does it match up with anything else? Maybe better said. Well, 40% is actually right in line with this last major high, the first lower high that we saw in January 2018 at 16,500. Interesting. What would 50% up be from this region? Mental mathers, you probably already know, or 60% up, kind of the top side of that range. That actually put Bitcoin around the prior highs. Just saying. Again, I'm talking bullshit right now, mostly because there's not too much to be spoken about on the low-term timeframes. so take that as you will. And I think that Sunday is usually a good day to talk about long-term analysis. Is what I find is that people typically, if I look at my analytics, people typically watch the videos longer on Sundays. So I read that as people usually, are putting more effort into to understand rather than get the fucking spoon. And it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with spoons. I understand that people have lives and they don't have time to watch a fucking 40-minute video, no doubt. But well, if you're going to try to trade, if you're going to try to invest in a very difficult and unforgiving market, you might want to put more than fucking 5 minutes or 10 minutes into it. So yeah, hopefully the nuance does not get lost on something like that. Again, there is no talk of anything like that at all whatsoever. Back to 16,000, 20,000, fucking even 14,000 until Bitcoin at the very least closes a goddamn daily dildo above 12,000, we'll call it. Same area that we've been looking at for about a month now, right here. 11,900 on a 12-hour or daily, 12,000 if you want to be, a little more conservative. So yeah. Overall right now though, Bitcoin daily is looking interesting here. Daily momentum oscillators have been coming down this whole way. So let's look at this for a second. Bitcoin daily Stokes have been coming down all the way since 12,300 right here, and then kind of and then all the way as we kind of grinded up this $11,000 region right here twice this past week. This is looking more like a bullish reset in my opinion. The reason why I say that is because first and foremost, we see Stokes coming all the way down while Bitcoin essentially just maintains the median of the range, the range being about 12, or you could say about 12,000 and then 11,000 down here. If we're at 11,600, we're actually a little bit above it to be fair. On top of that, daily RSI is more constructive as well. We see it come all the way down to test around the neutral zone and then pick itself up. I do typically look at that as a bullish reset as well. So both of those things do have potential here, but of course we won't officially flip daily momentum back up to the upside until Bitcoin gets a daily closure above 11,450. So why is that interesting? Well, that's exactly where the 21 exponential average is right here as well, which is 11,450. Or actually, it's a little bit higher than that to be fair, 11,525. So if Bitcoin closes above that level today, I would be looking for continuation to the upside coming into this week, as I said yesterday. Very likely a try up to, at the very least, 11.7, although you can kind of argue that we pretty much saw that already. Personally speaking, I do think 12,000 would be rather likely. On top of that, we do see that historic volatility percentile is also suggesting that we are kind of culminating a nice long-term contraction phase right here. There would be a statistically relevant implied date, actually very early this coming week. This is very, 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 very likely to break, statistically speaking. Again, anytime these things get about 70 to 75% full, they are usually set. Not always, but usually, more often than not. And we see the same thing on like the 4-hour. I think it's been building up in this case for a little bit of time as well. More aggressively, sorry, let's actually draw this one out more aggressively right here, and it kind of has the same apex as well. Middle of September, but that would suggest again 75% full is like pretty much this next week, early September. We very likely do get a break of this range, and that likely does give it the feel to at the very least test the top side or bottom side of the range. In this case, it looks a little more likely for the top side, but fair enough. It doesn't give it the feel to actually break it. Could, yes, absolutely. Absolutely could. Anyways, I might need to sneeze, so forgive my corona, please. All right. And, okay, so what else do we want to say here? Is there anything on 4-hour RSI that's interesting? Not really. Actually, yes, there is. We do potentially have hidden bearish divergence over here on the 4-hour. So, okay, things are starting to actually look a little more interesting on the short-term time frames now that I kind of scoot around these charts a bit. Here's what I can say. And here's the relevance of the levels now. I would be using 11,550 here as a nice kind of bias buster. Could that be moved up to 11,006, in this next 4-hour closure? Probably yes, but I can't confirm that right now until we actually see it, and that's going to take again another 3 hours. But hey, if Bitcoin does break below 11,550, this very likely does start to confirm itself as a local high. If this confirms itself as a local high, then we would expect this to work as hidden bearish divergence between this point right here and this point right here. That would very likely be good enough to get a test down to 11,300. Does not imply that we'll break 11,300, but would imply a test down there. And this is why I really want to be agnostic within this range until we actually break the high-term time frame range, even though I'm slightly more angled to the upside here, if I had to call it. But overall, I'd be looking for a bounce off this region and probably grind out this area a little bit more. I still do put the put the favorability on the upside, and we'll look at probabilities a little bit later, which will, I believe, we started to see them twist in the same direction as well. But yes, below 11,550, very likely would look for a move back down here. So we actually do have something that's that could produce a signal. But for right now, maintaining above this level is more or less continuation back up to 11.7. That's the next short-term time frame range. Any sort of a break above here on a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo above 11,700, and I'd look for overall continuation towards 11.9 to 12,000, and then we'll come back and I'd be curious to see if that lines up with especially like the monthly close. Which is coming in tomorrow. So not only do we have all those things on the weekly, which actually I forgot, or I didn't forget them, but I'm not going to talk about a shit ton of them. Maybe I'll talk about one more of them. Let's talk about this one, because this one is usually rather quick, and that's the weekly troll underbands right here. Anytime that we've seen Bitcoin, putting these long-term trends, we do see it typically notified by closing the weekly dildos above the top side Trollinger Band, while the 20 simple, this brown shit-colored moving average right here, has a positive slope. If those two conditions are met, well, let's just look. Here was your last example in April 2019. Closed that first girthy green dildo above, spends 4 weeks going sideways, and then boom again. And then that was your, you already know this move because we kind of looked at it before. 175% to move to the upside. Got all the moves, albeit a little bit later in 2018 right here. So it wasn't as direct as the RSI. And in fact, we could also involve Stokes in this as well. They tell you soonest. RSI tells you kind of in the middle, and Trollinger Bands tell you the latest. It's like Goldilocks of TA, I guess. And same things over here. Anytime it closes above, there's your there's your nice drives. And then where does it base off of? Actually, the 20 simple throughout the whole way. And does it work all the way back to the Genesis? Actually, it does. Going all the way back to 2012 in June. You can see these same sorts of reads right here. But yes, as it stands right now, is Bitcoin actually trending above it? No, it's not. However, it did get those first couple closures right here above, and it does have a positive slope. I do happen to think that as long as Bitcoin essentially follows this trajectory right here, where it maintains the long-term range, it very likely does get another test to the upside. So, take that as you will. Again, these are more experimental ideas right here. Not something that I really trade off of, but more so fun to talk about and mentally masturbate on when speaking in a much too long video on YouTube. So there you go. But yes, would also suggest that our next major continuation drive will be had when Bitcoin closes a weekly above about a 12,000, we'll call it. Looking pretty damn good right there. So yeah, take that as you will. Okay, what else do we want to look at while we're here? Yes, the monthly. Hello, monthly. So we're going to be closing the monthly on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Any sort of a closure above 10,800 right here, or sorry, let's just say 11,000 and make it a nice round even number, is essentially still a continuation. Could it be that Bitcoin is putting in a high right here? Could be. Yes, possible. How would that happen, though? What would need to happen for that to be confirmed with this as a local high, which would be very problematic, by the way? Well, first and foremost, we need to close this one below about 11,500. Put this in as a doji, and then get continuation below the bottom side of it coming into September, which would be about 10,500. If that were to happen, this would be confirmed as a local high, and if this is the local high, then this would be a higher high above what we saw in July 2019, and then this would technically be bearish divergence between this point and this point. How often do you see bearish divergence come essentially between the neutral zone? Almost never. Almost fucking never. So I do think that the people who are talking about something like that, they're extremely premature, like extremely premature, because this is not even confirmed as a local high to begin with. And then secondly, if it did get confirmed, well, there actually would be a target initiated back down below 9,000, in fact, like 8,500. But for right now, a lot of things need to happen first. And that also suggests that people who are talking about that sort of a thing, they don't even understand the very basic concept of trend right here, as this would put the bias first and foremost on more continuation over the next couple months. With this as your low, this is your high, this is your higher low. This one closed on a higher high above what we saw in June 2019. I would happen to think that would, at the very least, beget another try to the upside. Momentum oscillators also agree as well. So more derivatives of price action also on the same side. Monthly Stokes rejecting the bearish control zone and up, looks good. Monthly RSI has an inverted head and shoulders here, which would actually, I don't want to say, but Yeah, we're in TA nerd session right here. It actually would imply a target back up into the bullish control zone, which we can actually measure out the price action for that at 13,000 bucks. That does not mean exactly on the fucking monthly close, but probably over September to October if that plays out. Probably gonna be an ebb and a flow here too, with another retest back down towards the 59 level. So it actually would imply some downside too. And then monthly jewel giving you a holiday long signal here as well. So overall, more things on the higher term timeframes are suggesting, more or less health from that perspective. It's the low term timeframes that, I could look for maybe another $300, $400 move to the downside, maybe, and maybe more if 11,000 does break, certainly possible. It's just, looking at this right here, the bi-monthly, which is going to be closing as well on Monday. Could it happen? Yes. Do I think that it's very likely? Well, not really. But my opinion is not necessary on these sorts of things. Again, same sort of chart right here. Low, high, higher, low. This one, however, has not confirmed on a higher high. So this one has not actually confirmed continuation just yet. It will, however, confirm continuation with any sort of closure above, what is this area? 10,760 bucks. So we'll just say 11,000 again. And momentum oscillators would agree here too. Bi-monthly Stokes up, bi-monthly RSI retaking the exponential and into the bullish control zone. It will confirm with any sort of a closure above 11,800 on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, these things I do happen to put a lot more weight on. And if I really had to, if I'm giving you my straight up thoughts right now, I'd say why fucking trade with 1 day left in the month to go when so much or so little can be confirmed or denied during that time. I usually try to take things easy during the end of the month, and then usually like the first week or the second week of that next month is usually like the more easy plays, is what I've noticed. Not always, but usually. Anyway, thanks, baby. Fuck her. All right. Okay, so let's go check out what else we want to check out. Well, there's nothing to update on traditional markets. I do still think that probably Apple and Tesla probably put in reversals this week, opening up on Monday, but we'll talk about maybe that tomorrow. Futures not trading, obviously. No commodities, no nothing, no gold. My golds. Let's go look at Butyrol, I guess. Why not? What is this yam shit that everyone's talking about too? What the fuck is that, man? Anyone care to enlighten me? Looking at Mr. Butyrol, 4 hour is constructive here as well. I'll be looking for this one to give another short-term try towards 410. We did say yesterday that this one was likely to pop back up to 405. It's actually pretty much where we are right now. Not bad. Hey, nice. That TA bullshit. Sometimes, every once in a goddamn blue moon, might even work. Hidden bullish divergence is present between this point and this point, which would imply move actually a little bit further north towards, I guess I'll say it, the beautiful number of 420. Daily momentum oscillators have been down this whole way, and actually they look like they want to cross down again, but let's see what's going to be needed to cross them back up to the upside. Oh, that's interesting. Any sort of a closure above 390, which is also the 21 exponential moving average. That sounds familiar, almost like we saw the same goddamn thing on Bitcoin. Strange how that works out sometimes. But yes, looks to me like a bullish reset here coming all the way down, while it essentially, works its way through the median of the range. Once again, I do happen to think that if that condition is met, daily closure above basically here or higher, I'd be looking for a move towards 420. 4 hour looks decent as well for more immediate continuation. I do think that this one will go to the upside. Magical area at 415, and then again at 420 to be exact. Okay, what else we want to check out? And of course, the same areas like 11,000 for Bitcoin would be like 375 for Mr. Butyrol. So of course, caution there as well. Obviously we're very far away from it right now, but relevant until it's not. Let's go look at my Link Marines. I'm joining the Link Marines by owning absolutely zero goddamn Link, and I probably never will, but it doesn't matter. I'm still singing your praises. I'm still singing your damn praises. I'm the biggest fucking Link supporter, and I don't even want it. Yeah, this one did move up. Actually exceeded my target from yesterday. I believe I said 16. No, did I say 17? I think I said 17 bucks. I either said 16 and a half or 17 bucks, somewhere right around here. We actually exceeded both those targets regardless all the way up to 17 and a half bucks. Pretty damn good. Is this one gonna find a short-term top right here? 4 hour looks constructive, man. A 4 hour closure above 17 bucks and 10 cents, and I'd look for continuation all the way up to $18 even right here. Oh, I guess I already have it in there, huh? Nice one. All right, cool. This looks good. It appears to me like we have accumulation in this region. Now that is a 4 hour, admittedly. So how much do you trust that? Well, not all that much. Again, we have these rising wicks that we see on the weekly right here. I do typically like that. Call me crazy, man. I think this one probably gets another try towards the prior highs and probably beyond. I do think this is getting rather frothy now and pretty damn extended. But if there's one thing that I've learned from trading Bitcoin and trading traditional markets, do not underestimate the last breaths of a parabolic uptrend. And in this case right here, does this one probably want more? Probably, yeah. I feel the same way on NASDAQ and E-mini futures supply as well. Probably more, although I am getting rather cautious in these regions, but still a little bit more for now. And this one, yes, if the next 4 hour in the next 2 hours and 54 minutes closes above $17, we'll call it, then I'd be looking for extension to 18 and probably a short-term pullback from that region while setting up potentially a very nice daily closure as well as a weekly and monthly. But again, I really want to focus on the higher term time frame. So I'd much rather wait until we see closing prices on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to be a lot better. Okay, do you want to look at Litecoin? I guess why not? Okay, don't want to look at Litecoin anymore. That again, when you're thinking about relative strength in this market, you could look at something like Litecoin. It's like, wow, great move, man. Mr. Buterin by comparison, Mr. Bitcoin also by comparison. These are far and away from each other. So yeah, but of course, if Bitcoin and Buterin go up, is Litecoin going to go up as well? Yeah, it does have a higher low in place. Not bad. Do we have any hidden bullish evidence based off that as well? We do. So yeah, I'd probably be looking for this one to pop back up too, maybe around like $60, $61, something like that. Do you want to look at Ripple really quick? Nope, not really. Same shit, man. Same shit. For the love of God, man. No hidden bullish divergence here, though. It did make new lows on that run. But if everything goes up, if everything else goes up, what do you think is going to happen here? It's going to go. Whoa, nice one, Neo. Neo coming back from the grave. This one actually has bucked a long-term trend, to be fair. I was looking to talk shit about Neo, but I don't think it's appropriate right now. What about Monero? Monero is always kind of a wild card. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's terrible. Yeah, another weekly closure above, basically here or higher, anywhere above $90.50. I'd be looking for this run to get extended back up towards 110 region. Looks good. Fighting for the 200 simple on the weekly. Very, actually quite nice. Still want to see the closure there, of course, but looking good for now. Let's go take a look-see at the probabilities. So let's nail this one down now. Wrong chart. This one right here. Okay, very short-term time frame. My bias would change. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Below 11,550. As long as Bitcoin's closed in 4 hour dildos above there, and by extension, the 4 hour 200 simple, which is about $25 higher, so pretty damn similar. I do generally look for this to float upwards and onwards. Short term towards 11,700. If we get any sort of a 2 hour or 4 hour dildo closure above there, I'd be looking for it to test the top side of the long term range, maybe around 11,900 or 12,000. By the same token, if Bitcoin does break 11,550, we'll say on a 2 hour or 4 hour dildo closure, I would be looking at this as a local high, which would denote hidden bearish divergence and very likely be get another try back down somewhere around 11,300. If Bitcoin were to break 11,300 to the downside, I would look for extension all the way down to the long-term downside region at about 10,950 to 11,000. That's where things could get crazy, as if that area does break, I'd be looking for a move down below 10,000 to about 9,700-ish region with the bounce at 10.5. Do I think that's likely to happen right here? No, but I do think it's important to talk about, as everything's really important to talk about, really. To the upside, we already talked about the short-term and medium-term. The long-term still remains the same, above 11.9 on a 12-hour or daily closure. I'd be looking for short-term continuation back up to 12.3, and long-term, weekly and monthly over the next month or two, I'd be looking for a move probably back up to into the mid 13,000s and beyond. There, I said it. There, I said it. It felt weird to say, but yeah, overall, let's look at the probabilities here. Or first things first, we spoke about this yesterday. The very beginning of the turning of Bally and Pig's moms right here on the regular one and also on the error correcting MA one, both turn at the same time, so that is a good sign. And well, I would say that that very likely does err the probabilities on the side of the upside here. As far as ranges go, we can look at them directly. We can look at 11.7 to the upside. Again, that's only short-term, medium-term. To the downside, 11.3. We'll use that as a medium-term. And the downside's actually favored from this perspective. But remember, we could use the short-term pivot. We could use the short-term pivot as as something to go off as well, which I would say is 11,550. So let's see what this shows right here. In this case, it would show that we actually have a below target probability of 56.72% if I do use 11,550. Interesting. All right, so could Barrows put in a nice little short-term top here and work our way down, back down to 11.3? Yeah, very possible actually, according to the probabilities. But fair enough. At the end of the day, I'm still going off the levels. And with that said, I think it's time for me to wish you the best, and the happiest. I should also remind anyone, Jesus Christ, I should probably do this at the beginning of the video. I need to read like a marketing book or some shit. I will be having a sale for my upcoming birthday this week on September 2nd. So please hold off on buying any programs. Of course, if you really want to get into it today, go ahead. But, save yourself a few bucks. Just wait a few fucking days. Hopefully I've gotten this message out enough times over the last couple of weeks that people have actually not, forgone that. And so I hope that information serves you well. Other than that, I'll still be here. I'll still be coming back tomorrow for some more fresh technical analysis. Until next time, take care and goodbye.